So welcome to another video from theplayersaid.com. My name's Alexander.
And I'm Grant.
And we are currently driving in the car, as you can tell. We are on our way to Fitchburg, Wisconsin to go and visit our good friends at Noble Knight Games. And
so excited.
Yeah.
So excited.
You can
frankly.
see we have the car chock full of games that we're going to kind of drop off their solos back to them so that we can...
And bring a truckload back.
Spend that money on more games, yeah. But we're also going to go, they've sponsored a lot of our debriefs over the past couple of years, and they're
good people.
Very good to us, so we're going to go kind of meet them, tour the facility, go and have a chat and sit down and play some games up there as well. So looking forward to that, but it is a long trip, so I thought we'd just kind of turn the camera on and, have a chat about some different topics and discussions and things like that.
We are also coming at you from a slant. We're driving on an oval, a racing oval. No, that's the way the camera can fit in Alexander's Jeep. Oh wait, there's another person I got to wave to. There's a Jeep. Sorry, we missed that. I don't know if you guys know that. That's a cultural phenomena where Jeep owners wave to other Jeep owners.
Yes.
As if it's a specific club. So, anyway.
But I think it was interesting because we put out some feelers for what do people want to hear about? Because when we're driving in the car, it's not like we can sit here and do a bunch of research and pull out all of the games and talk about them, although we do have them all at the back. So this is much more of kind of an informal discussion, just to kind of pass some time and put some stuff out there. So something that had been asked is, what are the kind of topics that we like to play games on? And if you've watched our YouTube channel for any amount of time, we cover a lot of games, a lot of different topics. But what are our favorite ones?
Yeah.
And so we've kind of cobbled together some lists here. I'm driving, so I can't read mine. I don't remember what I put on it, so mine might be slightly more flying by the seat of my pants. I remember some of it.
I can find yours if you want me to.
That would be great.
Okay.
What's
your passcode?
Just put it in front of my face.
Well, that's really dangerous,
Okay.
dude.
Well, I'm not going to say my passcode out loud on video.
All right. Well, we're going to die.
Don't tell anyone.
All right. It's in your notes, I'm assuming?
Yes.
See, we're very, very...
well organized.
Well organized here. Okay, here we go. All right. So yeah, we're going to talk about, if we say a generic big category like World War II, we're going to try to be specific on some battles or periods or locations that we truly enjoy.
Yes.
Right? Some may be bigger than others, some may be very, very small, and some may be bigger, but that's the goal here.
I didn't put mine in any specific order. And I know it sounds like I'm going off the road, but there's construction, so we're driving over a
warning strip, It's a warning strip. We're going to die.
Yeah. But, my list isn't in any particular order, so I know that's not very helpful. But why don't you go ahead and surprise me with what I put down first on the list?
You put Battle of Britain.
Okay. So, we've played a few games on the Battle of Britain. I think famously one of my favorite games of all time is RAF 1940, The Battle of Britain from Decision Games.
Which is a solo game that we've actually done 2-player.
Yes, it has
which was interesting.
It has a 2-player competitive mode, or you can play it as the British, or you can play it at solo as the Germans as well from the other side. I've played it solo as the British. I absolutely love it. One of my favorite games, but part of the reason it's one of my favorite games is because it's one of my favorite topics. I think there's just always been something a little bit nostalgic about, Spitfires and Hurricanes flying over the English countryside shooting down Germans. What's not to love about that? Battle of Britain's one of my favorite films. Got a great cast, got a great script, got a great soundtrack. We've played a few others. So I think there was a game called Battle of Britain from PSC Games.
Yep.
That was a fun, a bit lighter game.
It had minis.
It did have very cool
really
plastic
cool
miniatures. That was awesome.
That was my favorite part of that. Yeah. I also liked the way the card combat system worked. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yes.
That is a very good game.
And then we just got Undaunted Battle of Britain.
Yep.
But I haven't played that yet. But everyone seems to be enjoying it. And there's a few others. I have Burning Blue, and I have London's Burning as well, which are two kind of older games. One of them's GMT, one of them's, I think, Avalon Hill. But just haven't got to those yet. But it's just a topic that I like. Anytime I see a game that is on that topic, I'm like, almost an instant buy.
Well, and specifically, it's only the air war, right? I mean, there's no ground invasion, there's no real naval battles.
Yeah, if the naval invasion happens, you've lost the game.
Yeah. You know, a game on that topic that we've played, Wild Blue Yonder. You know, there's some scenarios that it's Hurricanes versus Messerschmitt. I mean, that's a great little game.
Yeah, Wild Blue Yonder is fantastic because it's so versatile.
Yeah.
It has stuff that you can do Battle of Britain. It can do all the other stuff as well. But like you said, 15-minute little card game, and you had a really good time doing it.
Yeah, always enjoyable.
But yeah, Battle of Britain. Love a Battle of Britain game.
And that Battle of Britain movie is awesome. Michael Caine is amazing.
It's so good.
I think he's in every single World War II movie that they made in the 50s, 60s, and 70s.
He's in all the best ones, that's for sure.
That's true. All right, so one of my periods that I really enjoy is the Ancients, and specifically I always enjoy playing Ancient Rome. So we've played Commands and Colors Ancients, we've played a little bit of Alexander the Great, which obviously isn't Ancient Rome, but I do enjoy that period as well. But, you know, Rome is fantastic. I mean, it was a civilization that was built around war, right? They devised ways to kill people, and it was always interesting to see how that works and why it works. And so some of the games that we've played on that, specifically on Ancient Rome, things like Caesar, Rome versus Gaul.
Yep.
Great little game, card-driven game, very unique, built on that Washington's war model of political control as well as some battles. Really enjoyed that one. We need to play that again. I would love to play that again.
I really enjoyed that one.
You know, another one is Falling Sky, the Coin Series Volume 6. I've enjoyed that one. We have not played that one as much as some of the others. I know it's lower on my ranking, probably because of that reason.
And I prefer Pendragon, which I do consider a ancient Rome
because
game.
It's got the Civitatis.
It's the collapse of that.
Yeah.
But I really,
it's the
really
remnants
like that game.
of Roman Britain, right?
Yeah.
Another game that I played solo on the Ancients is Field Commander Alexander. So obviously not Roman, but I do enjoy that game. It's fun, it's interesting. There's 4 different scenarios. It's a little repetitive, but I have enjoyed that. So we played some other Ancients games.
Time of Crisis is a favorite of mine.
Gosh.
It's a classic, it's light, it's easy.
So good.
And, you know,
we're playing that on Rally the Troops right now.
Yes.
So very fun.
I have, including all of my Rally the Troops plays, I'm up to 37 games of that I've played.
Including Time of Crisis.
Yeah, including in-person ones.
So if you don't know Time of Crisis, it's by Ray Farrell and Brad Johnson from GMT Games. It's literally just a light, fun, card-based system. Not a card-driven game, but card-based.
It's a deck builder.
Very fun. Combat's a blast. You roll 3 or 4 dice, and you're going to hit on 3 or higher generally until your legions are wounded. Another ancient Roman game that I played, Agricola, fantastic. Stilicho from Hollandspiel, fantastic. Wars of Marcus Aurelius, fantastic. I could go on and on, but those are some of my favorite solo ancient games, and particularly Roman ancient games. Either Roman Civil War or even just all the other stuff. Anyway, Frontier Wars, Gaelic, etc. All right, your next one is CBI, World War II.
Ooh, okay.
We have not played a ton of games on this.
No, but that doesn't mean that it's not an interesting topic to me, right?
Yep.
That's something that I was putting together this little list, and I thought, the CBI games that we've played have always been interesting. There's always been something there, and I desperately want to play more of them.
Yeah.
I want more of them. So some of the major ones that we played are like Nemesis Burma
from Legion War Games
is
so
really,
good.
really good.
By Ken Kanger.
Yeah.
And that game has mule counters.
Yes.
Which is so awesome. That's very CBI, right?
Very. I played another one.
Chindits and mules.
Yes,
and
yeah.
Just so good. So good.
I played another game that...
I played Merrill's Marauders, which
Yes.
is a solitaire CBI game. Very fun, interesting. It's in the Decision Games Commando series, I think.
Yes. And then I think about, like, Empire of the Sun.
Yep.
The CBI stuff in Empire of the Sun is some of my favorite.
Very interesting.
Because it's completely different from all of the air naval stuff you're doing, like, out in the Pacific. But it's also extremely important. So part of me is I find the topic very interesting because the war that was fought there is very different from the war that was fought, for example, like on the East Front or even on the West Front in Europe.
Yeah.
Totally different kind of warfare, frankly, different mentalities, not a lot of heavy equipment, not a whole lot of support and supplies. Because
basically dudes with, rifles and machine guns.
Yeah, and the horrors of slugging it out in monsoons in like waist-deep mud with malaria. A very different type of theater and type of war.
Crocodiles, I should say, not alligators.
If anyone has any other CBI suggestions, I'm open to those as well because I want to do more on that. But it's an interesting topic.
I agree with you on the Empire of the Sun comment because you have to build the rail line, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of an abstracted part of the game, but it's interesting. And then it's all ground war up in there, but it's pretty cool. It's very enjoyable.
Well, that grinding ground war part just offers you something different than you get everywhere else.
All right, well, my next favorite topic is the Vietnam War. I have always enjoyed the Vietnam War from when I was a kid watching Tour of Duty on TV to reading. I'm trying to remember the name of the comic that I read, from Marvel Comics, but focused on Vietnam. But we've played several Vietnam games. I think my most favorite is Fire in the Lake.
A classic.
In the Coin series from GMT. To me, it encapsulates all the elements from that war, from that societal pressure at home to moral choices, VC versus the patrols in the jungle. Just always very interesting. We've played a couple of smaller games from High Flying Dice Games. Some of them have not been great.
No.
Some of them have been good. One that I really enjoyed was Firebase Marianne. Really enjoyed that game. Just always a good period to game on. Hearts and Minds, do you remember that one from?
Yes.
I think that was Worthington Publishing, but now it's Compass. I think they've got the second edition.
So that's the third edition from Compass.
Okay.
We played the second edition, I think.
Just a very interesting period. We just played Saigon 75 from Nuts Publishing. Very enjoyable game. I know a lot of people complain about it because it's pretty one-sided. You've got the NVA just crushing the South Vietnamese troops. It's in 1975, so the Americans are gone, but it's enjoyable, right? It's an interesting game. The other one that we played, Way 72 from Cadet Games. That big miniatures game that we played.
Yes, we did. Yes.
When Way is the name of the new, NGUYEN. Very interesting game. The NVA are very powerful in that one, and the poor South Vietnamese troops NVA just don't have a chance. But it's interesting. There's more that I would like to play. Silver Bayonet.
Silver Bayonet's incredible. I love that game.
So good. I mean, we've played that together. I think didn't you do it solo once?
I've done a bunch of the smaller scenarios solo.
And that's exactly what I love about it too, because you can just do the small scenarios.
And they print the little map on a little map card, and it has like the turn track and the charts on it and the sequence of play. Does it all for you. That game's really nice as well because it offers something very different. A lot of the games that we've talked about are like much larger scale and cover like massive, or the whole war and the whole country. Silver Bayonet, it's just going and landing in the valley.
Valley of Death.
Yeah, and it's just those operations, and it's fascinating, and it's Hex Encounter, and it's all that stuff that you like. That one's a great one. And then I've played a lot of Vietnam in Fields of Fire,
Right.
which that's really good too. It just is very different from the World War I stuff that you got going on.
It's just a different war.
And I'm looking forward to the new Warfighter Vietnam that's on
Sure.
Kickstarter that are coming out. Love Warfighter.
And one game that I've always wanted to get is Vietnam Rumor of War from Compass in the SCS or the company scale system, CSS. It's a big game. We just never have gotten it, but that's one I'd love to play. So yeah, Vietnam War. Your next one is Air War.
Well, that's very generic, isn't it?
It is.
I do like air war games.
Oh, it's fantastic.
It kind of ties into the Battle of Britain. I've always loved military aircraft. Grew up going to like air shows, and that's part of Britain's greatest contribution to World War II were things like during the battle, the creation of the Spitfire, the Lancaster bomber, things like that, and all the innovations that went into those things.
Well, in that Battle of Britain, staying alive, it was a big part of it, right?
Yes.
Surviving, stopping that attack, and staying in the war. Had the Germans been successful, I'm not sure World War II would have ended the way that it did.
Yeah, it would. I think it would have looked very different. But then, I think air war isn't just limited to Battle of Britain. I've played a lot of other air war games, and I just really like them. I think about one we played recently, Fighters in the Pacific.
Oh, so good.
Really good. Totally different type of game.
Yep.
Totally. No dice rolling.
Nope. It's about position.
And initiative.
Yep.
And you control those things.
So cool.
And it's just fascinating.
I liked that game so much that we backed the Fighters in Europe Kickstarter, and can't wait for that one to show up from Capsicum Games. Another air war game that locked on, the jet one from Dan Versen
Down in
Games.
Flames.
Down in Flames, so good. Just so deadly, right? You're not firing machine guns.
That one's lethal.
You fire a rocket and it's over. All right, so back to my question. Bombers or air-to-air?
Both.
Both.
I think for the purposes of this video, I'm going to say both. Because there's not a ton of like bombing games, but the bombing games that exist
very good.
Have been very enjoyable. So the big ones for that are like, there's the kind of chart rolling, target for today, target for tonight games.
You love those games, don't you?
Yeah, those are just, it's the Greg Smith
narrative
style games.
Narrative game.
Yeah, rolling those narrative. Those are good. I enjoy that. But the big one is Bomber Command from GMT Games.
Yeah.
This is a 2-player competitive game. One of you plays Bomber Command and you're trying to do night raids on Germany with your massive bomb streams of like Lancasters with some fighter
escorts and
it's like you have a sheet of paper and you plot your raids and then you execute those.
So it's hidden movement.
Yes.
Is a big. Actually, to be honest, it's 2 games in one. It's making it actually 3 games in one, right? It's making it to the bombing site that you've chosen.
Yeah.
Going through that very interesting and very crunchy bombing routine.
Yes.
Where literally the number of hits you've taken affect your rolls.
Yeah, all your disorganization, any weather, any AA, and you literally have a splat chart, and you like, this is where we dropped our flares.
Where does it go?
And we're going to center around that, and we're going to like put out all these explosion markers based on how many bombers I have left, effectively. But then there's like, then the German player gets to like move a bunch for drift if there's been a bunch of disorganization or wind and weather, and then there's like, well, does it create a firestorm? But and it's all very grim.
Yeah, it is very grim.
But that aspect of it is fascinating. And then you got to get home.
Yeah, so that's the third part of the game. So it's really 3 different games in one, and we've played it multiple times, and I'm going to be honest, I love that game.
It's so good.
So good. It's in my collection. It's never going to leave my collection. If somebody could do a digital implementation of that,
I would play it
all day,
all the time.
Put that on Rally the Troops,
because there's the game shows its age a little bit.
Sure,
it's that hidden movement, so you can't play it solo, like it's not feasible.
Yeah.
But then also like all the German night fighters have to track all of their fuel individually for how far they can go and get back, and that's kind of a pain, honestly. It's worth it, but like if you could have digital implementation that takes care of all that for you,
makes it easier.
That makes it so much easier.
That's a great game. I will always play that game.
But then I think, air-to-air games.
Yeah. The other games I want to mention that we have played, or at least I have played, I don't think you played yours, 20th Air Force from Fortress Games.
I did not play that
That
one,
little
no.
solo game. That was in the Pacific. Yours was 8th Air Force?
Yes.
Which was the European version. Very unique. A little bit fiddly, gonna be honest, a little fiddly. The map doesn't necessarily help you play the game as well as I think it should. Maybe a recessed map or recessed board would help that. But still a very interesting game where you're trying to, in 20th at least, destroy industry, destroy housing to force capitulation.
Yes.
And it's very unique and interesting. I also like those games that make me think about, I'm bombing residential areas. That's not good. I'm killing civilians, and
you often get those ethical questions, which is very both important and interesting to think about.
Yep.
Because that's the kind of stuff that was put to Bomber Command when they were planning missions.
Should you
and
be
stuff.
doing this? Yeah.
Or like, how hard do we go?
Yep.
And that's an interesting side to war games that, like, some games don't ask you those questions and don't put you in the seat of command as well.
Yeah. No, very true. So air war, right?
Yeah. If you have a nice air war game, I'm going to try
it all day. My next one is, and I'm going to use the generic but American Revolutionary War.
Sure.
I really enjoy the period. Historically, I've read dozens of books and watched movies and films and documentaries. I'm an American. I'm very connected to that. I believe in that, and I believe that God guided it and it worked out the way it did. Sorry, England, but we're able to be here. So really love that period, and we've played some really great games, Liberty or Death from GMT Games, Coin Series. Many people don't like that one, but I enjoy it because it has a combat mechanic that really focuses on attrition and not necessarily wiping each other out like some of the other games do. Love that combat role. I love playing the Patriots and doing your rabble rousing and your raising of the ire of the folks, and I love the Indian raids. The British get to use the Indians. It's just, I love that game. I don't know that you love it as much as I do.
I enjoy it a lot, though.
Yeah, we've played it a bunch. Another one that go ahead.
Okay, here's a question for you.
Yeah.
Because I think you're right. Some people don't like Liberty or Death. Do they not like? Okay,
there's many reasons that they don't like
Liberty or Death. Is it like they don't like it because it's not a great coin game, or do they not like it because it is a really good AmRev game? Like, is there a play between those two things?
There's probably a little bit of both, but what I have seen from most people that dislike it is they really disagree with the motivations and the victory conditions for particularly the French.
Okay.
The Patriots and the British are worried about their cumulative casualties, and the French don't really care. So you can use those sometimes to go out and run and do a battle and kill a bunch of Patriot troops to affect that. People just don't seem to like that. I also think they feel like, it's not really a true insurrection. Well, it is. I think it's very good. But some people don't like American Revolutionary games. They just, war games, they just don't. Some of the others that we played...
Campaigns of 1777 was excellent.
Designed by Harold Buchanan, Indecision Games, Strategy and Tactics Mag. Such a good game. Point-to-point movement. Very interesting. We played that many, many years ago.
Yeah.
But really enjoyed it. We've played some other smaller games. Freeman's Farm from Worthington. I really enjoyed that. It's simple. I also really enjoyed the Saratoga game from TPS, Turning Point Simulations.
Yes, that game was very good.
Very unique.
Really liked that one.
Probably one of the best games in that system that we've played. I just find the period interesting. I finally got a copy of 1776. I need to grok the rules. I need to clip it, get it ready, but I'd love to play that one. I also have Almost a Miracle from TPS, which is the Northern Theater. Huge strategic game. Really want to play that. And then I have Tarleton's Quarter, which is the Southern Theater by TPS. I really want to play those someday. But yeah, I enjoy the Revolutionary War. It's one of my favorite topics to game.
I think one of my favorite games or series for those is Supply Lines from Hollenspiel. Those are really good.
Both the Northern Theater and the Southern Theater. Very good games.
And then there's like all the ball games. There's like,
yes.
And they got small ball coming out. There's a million games to play on AmRev if you're interested.
I'm really interested in that Small Battles of the American Revolution because I love that system, but it's a big game.
Yes.
Right? You're not going to break it out and play it in a 2-hour. It's a 6 to 8 hour game. I want to play some of those smaller battles, Kings Mountain, Cowpens, some of these ones that had a couple hundred soldiers, and I can play in 2 hours. So we'll see if that is what it is.
I often find those smaller like skirmishes and battles more interesting anyway, because you can get in on a closer level. I don't know, I just think that some of those are really interesting.
The other one I really like is Don't Tread on Me from White Dog Games. It's a solo game where you play as the British, so it's pretty unique that you're playing the bad guys, the really evil empire. But it's different, it's unique. So I enjoy that game. It's a solo game, but it's a long solo game, probably 3.5 hours. But yeah, AmRev. So that's kind of mine. Your next is French and Indian War.
Oh, love French and Indian War.
Oh,
Indeed, we actually did a video a couple of years ago, it feels like, about all of the French and Indian War games that we played.
Yep.
We played a lot of the big ones.
Well, Wilderness War is the one that I think everybody really knows well.
Yeah, Wilderness War, and the other one is A Few Acres of Snow.
Oh.
I feel like that one's quite famous.
Totally different games, right? You've got a real war game with point-to-point movement, and then A Few Acres of Snow is a deck-building game with a little bit of combat and some sieges.
Yeah, a bit more abstract.
Do you still have that game?
Yes.
Okay. You didn't put it in the car because I'm going to buy that from you.
No. And
okay.
if I did, you can fish it out.
All right.
But
because that's a game I've always really enjoyed.
Yeah, I'm a little bit obsessed with Wilderness War at the moment because I'm playing it a lot on Rally the Troops. That was one of the very first war games that we'd ever played. It was kind of in that first batch of 5, I think. And it was great, it was intense, it was everything that I had wanted. And then it just like we'd never played it again.
Right.
And so revisiting it as much more experienced.
Oh yeah.
I'm obsessed with it at the moment. It's so good. It's so crunchy and crispy, and that's one of the things about French and Indian war games is they're totally asymmetrical.
Yep. And
there's often a lot of chrome and extra rules to accommodate for the supply and the geography, the asymmetry, and all the other things that go into it. And so they can often have a lot of rules overhead and be a little bit intimidating.
Road building is another one.
Right. And so they can scare a lot of people off sometimes where it's like, this is kind of intense, but I really like a French and Indian war game.
You know, another one, a new one, Bayonets and Tomahawks.
It was really, really good.
Custom dice, fantastic combat system. I love the way they used cards in that one, and I loved how the French had kind of an Indian deck and then their own deck. Really great game. I also enjoyed Bloody Mohawk for what it was. It was a very simple tactical level skirmish game. I would not recommend that as a hardcore game, but that's something you can play with your dad at holidays.
Yeah, or even another one I'd recommend is 1754 from Academy Games.
Oh, so good.
That part of that Birth of America series, I think is what it is.
Yep.
Again, it's a light game, but really eminently playable and very fun.
So which one do we go in? We don't have any. Oh, cash credit.
I guess that's what we're doing.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah, French and Indian War is a period that I also have the States of Siege series, French and Indian War game that I've never really played, but I need to get it out. Yeah, so French and Indian War, I love it. I'll play it at any time.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen that video, check it out. It goes through like 7 or 8 games that we've played. All right, so my next one, I put World War I. I know, that's a huge, huge topic. I enjoy the battles and the games that we have played in the East, right? So I'm thinking of At All Cost,
that
from
is
Hollenspiel. really dealt with the Russian front. Really enjoyed that one because it's a topic that I haven't played a whole lot of games on. Don't get me wrong, Paths of Glory is fantastic. You've got your gridlock on the Western Front, and if you spend too much time there, you're wasting your time. But go to the east and mess around in Russia. There's a lot of opportunity there for the Germans, and once it goes bad, it goes bad for you.
Well, and I think that's something that I have also noted when we play things like Paths of Glory, Lamps Are Going Out, even Imperial Struggle, or Imperial Tide, is that what it's called?
Yep, Imperial Tide from Columbus.
All of those games, you end up with, you kind of have to commit to that struggle on the West Front.
At least at the start.
But so much of the action happens on the East Front.
Yeah.
And that's some of the most interesting parts of those games, because there's often significantly fewer troops on both sides, and so you don't have that same gridlock. It's much more open and expansive, and you get pushes, and you get pushed back and counterattacks, and it's a bit of a swirling mess at times.
Yeah.
And that's always fascinating. That's always interesting. I agree with you.
You know, a game that I really enjoyed that we only played once, and we played it at Buckeye Game Fest, but was Quartermaster General World War I.
That was a great game.
And the reason I like it is, yes, you have your focus on the West Front, but it also covers the East and the Near East and Italy, and it's just so cool that those are focused on in that game, and it becomes kind of a sandbox. So I will say this, World War I has become one of my most favorite periods to game because we have focused on the Guns of August events. I feel like right now we're kind of mired in the middle of one, and I'm not sure we're ever going to get back to it, but have always enjoyed the games that we've played on World War I. I really enjoy it.
Yes.
And you just played, not Illusions of Glory,
Pursuit of Glory.
Pursuit of Glory.
Which was very good. I loved it, and I loved playing it.
So it's in that family of Paths of Glory, Pursuit of Glory, Illusions of Glory.
But again, it focuses on like the Near East stuff and the Middle East, and so you get just a very different flavor and a different focus.
Lawrence of Arabia.
Yeah, and like, even that is just like a very small portion of it. It's so cool to see some of the stuff that frankly is neglected in a lot of World War I games.
We also, I have fond memories, Alexander, of that Gallipoli game that we played from GMT. Do you remember the name of that one?
It's Gallipoli 1915, Church's Greatest Gamble.
Okay. Such an interesting system. A lot.
Without doubt, the crunchiest game I think I've ever played.
Very crunchy, but very enjoyable. So that's an example of a non-West Front game that is very, very enjoyable on World War I. So, and Lamps Are Going Out is one of my favorites of all time.
It's so good.
I love that game. So your next is Napoleonics, and you specifically mentioned the Peninsular War.
Yes. So Napoleonics is not something that we play like a whole bunch of.
Mostly what we've played, frankly, has been CNC Napoleonics.
Yes.
Mostly.
We've played
except marauding camels running through in Napoleon's Imperium.
Yes.
You know, that big 6-player game.
But I just think the topic of the Peninsular War specifically is something that's very interesting to me. Both, you know, the French taking over Spain, but then also the British landing in Portugal and the liberation of Spain. And that campaign is one that I think is very interesting because it's just a little bit different.
Sure.
I think when people think about Napoleonics, we think about a lot of, you know, fighting in...
well, you think of Waterloo.
It's either Waterloo or it's like the big battles of like Austerlitz, or like the big stuff, you know, over in like Central Europe, where it's like tens of thousands of men.
Oh yeah,
which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think there's just a little bit of a different flavor of, you know, the battles weren't quite as large. And I think that's something that I'm learning about myself, is that sometimes the smaller little battles and campaigns have a bit more, not more, but like there's just some extra nuance that you don't really see in some of the mainstream games, and I always find that interesting.
Well, and my comment about Napoleonics would be that we definitely need to play more of it.
Yes.
There are many great games, many great systems out there that I would like to explore. It just all becomes a matter of time.
Yeah,
right?
and it's funny. I have a game
that you just bought recently, right?
No, well, yes, I do have. That is a Waterloo game, though. I bought Fallen Eagles 2. I
Okay,
think.
yeah.
But that's one because the system was recommended and came very highly recommended. But I have a game from Legion Wargames that is called.
What is called?
I believe it's called 3 Battles in Spain.
Okay.
I think, and you know, it's from a system that has a name that I don't remember offhand.
Labatai.
No, it's not. It's got some name, but there's a billion.
You don't want to divide by 12.
It's the Vive l'Empereur series.
Okay,
That's
how's
what
that?
it is.
How's that go again?
Vive l'Empereur.
I just like to hear you say French
That's okay.
words. It's always
I'm
fun.
Hopefully butchering it. But
Ypres. Yippers.
wipers.
Wipers.
That system looks cool, but it's that one in Spain is the one that looks the most interesting to me because I just think I just find the setting to be something a little bit different.
But my experience for Napoleonics has been fairly limited, going to be honest. Like I said, mostly CNC Napoleonics, which is fantastic, by the way. My favorite of the CNC games. But I really enjoyed that Nappy 20 system that we played,
Yes.
the 100 Days War. I enjoyed that. It was very interesting. There was a lot of maneuver. There was a lot of opportunity for counterattack. Do you remember that game?
Yeah, so the Napoleonics
From Victory
20
Point games?
series, it's called that because you have 20 counters
Yeah,
on each side.
yeah.
And it was very simple,
Yep.
but
Interesting.
yeah, it was like, here's one battle, here's your guys, here's my guys,
Yep.
and then we fight that battle. The thing I remember the most from that game was that it had the world's best play aid in it.
Oh,
It
yeah.
had like the entirety of everything condensed onto the play aid that was color-coded and very easy to pass, and it was really good.
Yeah, it was very
It
good.
made the game very playable.
So, I mean, I would like to play more Napoleonics. I'd like to play, more Waterloo games. I mean, Scum of the Earth, we also played 1815 from Hull or Nothing.
Yeah.
Not the
Great.
Peninsular War, but
But great little
very
game.
fun little game. Yeah, so Napoleonics, I'd love to play more.
Yeah.
I still have good fond memories, though, of that Napoleon's Imperium at Basement Con.
Yes.
Where you were... Who were you again?
I played as the Ottomans.
So you were riding camels
I had camels
into Bavaria.
into Bavaria and up in Russia as
Just
well.
so awesome.
A silly game,
But it was fun.
but we all had a good time sat around the table.
Not one of my most favorite games, but I had a good time.
Yeah.
Right? It was... anyway,
To me, that was
so-
an afternoon well spent with friends.
Yeah. Okay, so I put World War II, but I specifically, there's 2 theaters that I really enjoy, and you're going to absolutely fall over when I say the second one. I love the Pacific, right? There is no doubt that I
Yes.
love the Pacific.
I also know what the second one
I
is.
enjoy the amphib nature of it. I enjoy the air naval nature of it. I even really have enjoyed the naval games that we've played. Midway is an example where literally you moved carriers around, you had to spot people, and then you bombed. And it was just a great time. I loved Fighters of the Pacific from Capsicum.
That's really good.
Loved maneuvering those carriers and turning them and trying to stay away from the torpedoes. That was a great game, but I really enjoy the Pacific. My favorite game that we've played that out of that has been CSS Saipan. Empire of the Sun obviously is number 1. But I really enjoyed that system, the company scale system from Compass. It was just enjoyable.
It was very meaty. It was very big, but it was awesome.
Well, and you had like weapons teams, like you had mortar teams, and you had heavy machine gun teams, and I just like the Pacific. Now, the second one, what am I going to say?
You're going to say East Front.
And I can't believe I'm saying it.
Yeah.
Because we've played dozens of those games, and there have been times where I've said I hate these games and I'll never play them again. But there have been 2 games that we played in the same system, actually 3 games, not in the same system. Unconditional Surrender totally changed my mind. Obviously a grand strategic, grand tactical level. Loved the East Front in that one.
Yeah.
And then, what are the 2 games that I'm going to name? We've just played them. Traces of War and A Victory
Oh, A Victory Awaits.
Awaits. That system used in those two games, it just works.
Yes.
It's just fun. It's interesting. It keeps you engaged. Plays quickly and well. And you have everything. You have supply. You have encirclement. It's just so good. But I'll play an East Front game now. I don't care. I'll play them. I'll play them.
Well,
I'll get my teeth kicked in for 6 hours. I'm okay with that. Anyway.
Yeah, it's finding the good ones, because there's a glut of East Front games, right?
Yeah.
There's a million East Front games. You could play only East Front games for the rest of your life, and you'd never play one twice.
Yep.
But some of those ones that you talked about, like the SCS series, really easy.
Rostov
to learn.
41,
Rostov 41
so
is
good.
excellent if you can get a hold of it. But the Red Box series, which is not really Red Box anymore, those from MMP or from VUCA Simulations, excellent. I think about Donnerschlag.
Oh, Donnerschlag's so good.
People complain about that game.
Do they really?
Yes.
It's a little imbalanced, I'm going to be honest. But if you pull it off...
People complain because it came with like 9 pages of errata.
Oh,
but they're releasing a second edition with everything fixed. And it's one of my favorite games that we've played in recent years. It was so good, in spite of all of that stuff.
And I got my teeth kicked in that game, but it was so interesting.
Really, really,
just
really
really
good.
engaging. So East Front, yeah, hate on me. Tell me I'm stupid, but I'm telling you. And Russian Front, I cannot wait to play that game. I cannot wait to play it.
The Russian campaign,
the 5th edition that we have. What did I call it?
The Russian Front.
The Russian campaign. Is that what it's called?
Yes, it's called the Russian campaign.
And I really enjoyed No Retreat, the Russian Front. I enjoyed that one from GMT. Really a good game.
And I played solo. I did the Dark Valley, which is incredible.
Yeah.
That's a much bigger game. Covers the whole war on that front, but damn, it is so good.
Those Dark Series games are Dark Sands,
Oh, yeah.
Dark Summer, so very good. We even have Dark Woods
It's called Deadly Woods for legal reasons.
Yeah, it uses a D, but it can't be called Dark. But yeah, East Front, I'm telling you, I'll play it almost at any time.
Good choice. Good choice.
Bring it on. Your final one is Spanish Civil War, and I'm surprised by that. Because we've only played 2 games on it.
I know, but I have 2 more.
Okay. So you're just baiting me.
That's not true. I have 3 more.
Okay.
So, and when I was putting this list together, I put the list together based more on like, these are topics that I like, not necessarily ones that I've like played a lot of games on.
Sure.
Because I think the Spanish Civil War is such a fascinating conflict. There was so much going on, both politically and militarily, and the effects of that are genuinely still felt today in Spain, because that wasn't that long ago. And so I have, there's like the big classic game, which we haven't got to yet, which is called Crusade and Revolution.
Yeah.
Big CDG point-to-point movement game. Looks incredible. And I also have a game called A las Barricadas.
Oh, that game I want to play.
Which is a tactical level.
Sure.
Game. Like, who doesn't want to play that?
Yeah.
And those both look really, really good. I think they're both from Compass.
They are, yeah.
But we played recently the
Land and Freedom.
Land of Freedom from Blue Panther. And that's a much more abstract, like high-level game.
It's not really a true war game, but it definitely, I think, deals very well with the Spanish Civil War. I just think it's very good.
Yes, it's very
fun,
good.
interesting,
And
unique.
and it highlights all of those like political and social and military issues that they were contending with at that very high level.
Yeah.
And part of this is also inspired by, I recently read Homage to Catalonia from George Orwell, and it was just really interesting as a read of his experiences there.
Got it.
And it just like brings you that extra level of detail that you don't really get in the game, and it made me like, that's why I went out and bought Crusade and Revolution and A las Barricadas, because I read that book and I was like, I have to play more on this because it was so fascinating. But yeah, Spanish Civil War, haven't done a ton on it.
Yeah, but it's interesting and unique.
But want to do more because I think it's fascinating.
I will also say this and about the Spanish Civil War. I just think there's so many political elements there that if a game doesn't represent those, and that's why like a CDG mechanic's really good for Crusade and Revolution, because you can include all that history in it. I thought Land and Freedom did a really good job of that, putting the different personalities and the different factions, although they were amalgamated agglomerations of one or two different factions, but very unique and interesting game. I've enjoyed that, had a good time. I look forward to playing a la Sparacatus and Crusade and Revolution, frankly.
And I have Guadalajara, which is an SCS game about a specific operation.
Okay.
Apparently it's not that great.
Not that, okay.
Is what I was told. But you know what? One day I'll play it.
One other, I do enjoy modern war games. I am not a huge fan of necessarily tank combat in modern because it's so deadly, right?
Yes.
And you're laughing at me. I get it. I prefer World War II tanks, but I do enjoy modern warfare because you throw a lot of other elements into it, and I find that interesting. So, here we're paying for a toll here. This credit card reader must be bad because people are struggling.
It is.
It says tap to pay.
Yeah.
Little Frank Sinatra. Hey, not bad. Now we get to sit up here and wait.
Yeah.
Love Chicago at 10 o'clock in the morning. So in 4 miles, you're looking for 90 west to the Dan Ryan.
So 4 miles, so in about 45 minutes.
Sure, at this rate. Obviously, the left lane is closed up here, so. I think there's a lot of other topics that I do enjoy gaming too, but American Indian Wars is a topic that I really enjoy. Plains Indian Wars, we've played. All of those old Northwest series games those from High Flying Dice, Comancheria, Navajo Wars, also really interesting games. And I do enjoy, I think I've told you this before, when I was a kid, I read basically in our library or in our elementary school, every book about Native American tribes that I could find. And there were about a dozen of them. Read one on the Nez Perce, which are out west in Washington State, and I think Idaho as well. But I enjoy the American Indian Wars. We've played several of those games. Custard Last Stand, we've played a couple of times, and lots of interesting topics on that. But I think we could go on and on. There's a lot of topics that are gamed, have games. One you really enjoy is the Argentine.
Yeah, I've played a lot of Falklands games as well. And again, those are very interesting at different scales. Sometimes it's great to play ones that cover kind of the whole thing operationally.
Yep.
And other times it's interesting to get down into the nitty gritty of like the trenches and the rocks and the bunkers. Mm-hmm. And I think that's, when I think about wargaming in topics, it helps me to do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that I'm not getting bogged down in like just another strategic game.
Yeah.
Like, let's get down into the nitty gritty. Let's go to an operational level. Let's go to a strategic level. Let's go to a tactical level. Doing all of that within one kind of topic or theater, to me, helps to bring all that to life and to synergize a lot of different aspects of that conflict.
I don't know. I think we could go on and on, but I think we've probably spoken enough. I think there's topics out there that people don't want to game. We've run into that before, right? Anything kind of modern, like Afghanistan.
So that can be very polarizing for people.
I love the game Zermatt, and I love A Distant Plain because they deal with the crunchiness and the difficulties of those wars. And partly the reason I game is I want to learn. I want to experience and understand better. Obviously, that's a no.
But then there's people who have done that and have first-hand experience that don't want to do those games.
Right,
They
and
already
there's
have
nothing wrong
it. They
with
don't
that.
need that aspect of it. Or there's just topics that you're just not interested in.
Sure.
Like, there are people who love Ancients games and
People that hate them.
Couldn't care about anything from the 20th century.
Yep.
Or vice versa, like people less interested in like ancient stuff.
Yeah.
So let us know what your favorite topics are and what your favorite games within those.
I think we basically covered every
sure.
topic you can generally cover.
But
there may be some that we missed.
Getting a bit more kind of detail from everyone, I think that's fascinating. Especially when they recommend games about those.
Yeah,
then
exactly.
I'm going to go buy them at Noble Night, and then we're going to play them.
Yeah.
So yes, thanks for sitting with us. This was somewhat of an odyssey, but appreciate you tuning in. I'm Alexander from theplayersaid.com.
And I'm Grant.